So welcome to New Ways to Evolve, Change, and Grow. Today I'm going to have a new friend of mine as a special guest on. His name is Danny Picard, and he's going to help us learn how to raise our frequency in this weird time that we're in right now. So welcome, Danny.
Well, the first trick and tip, and this may sound so simple, and that is to know that it's not your responsibility to feel the pain of everybody else. First and foremost important thing that I've ever had to learn, especially being energetically sensitive, is knowing that, oh wait, that's actually not mine. When somebody is processing and it lures me into their story, and then I start feeling all their pain. And so we have to start realizing that what they're going through is a different situation. Yes, we can be compassionate and hold space, but it's not yours. And perhaps the mind wants to go into understanding of the other person, and that's great. But there's a lot of people repeating different problems. And when people start repeating other problems and other people's problems, and then people just start bitching, and bitching really lowers your frequency. Okay, as simple as that may be. And there's so many different other things. That's a very practical one to talk about in terms of be mindful about who you're hanging out with and what kind of information you're ingesting, because the information that you're ingesting, pay attention to how you feel in your body. If you're ingesting information that makes you go, ugh, but you're used to watching it, pay attention, because that's not right. Your body's doing that for a reason. Now, if your body starts doing that forever, then you actually can start developing illness and go into a spiral and have to overcome that later on. So those are very, very important, especially with, whose information are you subscribing to? Are you watching news? Are you watching, it doesn't matter if is it the neighbor across the street who's downing a gallon of whiskey every day, It's like, or are you actually talking to the Harvard grad, with the PhD in environmentalism? It doesn't matter, but be mindful about who you are and know that you're worthy of changing. And it doesn't mean you're a jerk for walking away and owning a boundary. Know that by staying there is actually you self-deflating, and it's allowing you to be in a lower frequency state. So go where what your heart's calling to and what feels good in your body. And this is simple law of attraction type stuff too. So now another thing that is really important right now is just being mindful within the heart. There's a lot of heart math and meditations and heart and information on heart coherence. But there's even more so with that. And that is when we can find safety. It's all about safety right now. And in general, society often is running in fear-based programs, and it doesn't even matter if it was 50 years ago or if it's today. Why? Because we are in a state where we are overworked and people are, working too much. They're not taking care of their bodies. And when your bodies are not being listened to, your body tries to tell you, but here's a Red Bull, here's a can of Rockstar, and then you're going to go have martinis after work, and let's just forget about it. Let's get 4 hours of really crappy sleep, and then your body's going to hate you the next day, but you're going to hammer through it. But what that does is it shows that you're not paying attention to your body. And your body starts moving into a state of anxiety and fear and worry without you even realizing it. And then your body will start developing the different hormones and chemicals for you to sustain that. So it becomes a natural part of you. So we have to break these cycles and be mindful of, hey, is this fueling me? Or is this taking away from my potential of smiling all day? And you can look at that in terms of, is it the neighbor across the street with a gallon of whiskey? Is it the news channel? Is it my job even? And one of the things, if you're a person working a job and you're not being mindful of the thoughts that you're thinking, and you're sitting there going, I hate my job, I hate my career, I hate my job, I hate my career. Your cells in your body hear that. Not only that, preemptively, we are the universe too. So you're also declaring that on all the quantum aspects of reality.
Yeah.
So, and then next 2 weeks later, you're like, I got laid off. Why? Then you go into freak out mode.
You were saying the prayer for it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And then, meanwhile,
or you
go,
say things like, this job is killing me. This job is killing me. And you wonder why. It's, they say spelling, cast a spell.
Absolutely.
With the words you say and the words you think and repeat, and that energy turns into disease.
Absolutely.
Disease. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even deeper than that, energy follows your thoughts, as you're just saying. A repetitive thought becomes a belief, and it's our beliefs that create the reality that we live in. This is epigenetics and Bruce Lipton's work, and Joe Dispenza talks about it as well. So if you're, it's not the job that's killing you, it's the belief that you're not good enough for something better that is killing you.
Yeah.
It's the belief that says it's okay to talk to the lady across the street who's just dumping all of her crap on you, that's okay. It's the belief that you've never experienced what an energetic boundary is, and you've never experienced that you're worthy enough to create them. That is actually going to create the illness. So, these are very practical, easy things to do. Now, we can also go into, my little woo ceremony of, there's the violet flame. If people want to go into alchemy, or, going into just visualizing this deep, deep violet radiant light surrounding you and your heart, and just imagining yourself, all the cells within your body consumed with this beautiful, radiant violet light. And this violet light has the ability to lift the lower frequency into a higher octave almost instantly. And just imagine almost, there's a little transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cores, not of God's desire. I am a being of cause alone, and that causes love, the sacred tone. Okay, there's different mantras, different things that you can do. In alchemy, I love the whole wizard aspect of life. And, when Harry Potter came on, I was like, yes, it's about time, I was like, yes. And then, but look at how many people really started to enjoy that, because it tapped into the inner child. It tapped into the innocence and the joy of what we want to, be and become, and where we came from. Because so many people that I talk to with my client work and whatnot, so many people come to me and they're like, I need to find the magic again. How do I find the magic? Well, and one of the things that I say to people, even with my own self, is, I went through a long period of time where, lots of addictions, and struggled for, 15 years with many different addictions from, just think about any of them. That's pretty much where I was. But I wanted to rediscover the magic. There was a part of me that I knew existed, and it had to be there. It literally got me to a point where I woke up one morning after being out all night, and I went to smoke a cigarette when I was smoking and treating myself like a jerk. And I looked at my car, and the car was parked in the driveway, and I was like, wow, those new people dropped me off at home. That's fantastic. And then this voice says, no, you drove yourself home. And then the voice said, look at how many times we've protected you. And I'd always been witchy, but secretly witchy, secretly woo. I've always done the energy healing and the meditation on the back burner, and quiet on the 2 days a week when I was actually sober-ish, to help balance myself, because I was trying to figure it all out, But in that moment is when I realized that miracles existed. And then I realized that in that moment that, looking at all the times that I didn't get put in jail or killed somebody else, that was a miracle. And that, wow, I must be a miracle. And then I started living as though I was a miracle. And that's when things got really, really, really fun. And, not everybody's going to have that experience, but sometimes we have to hit that rock bottom to realize that the contrast of that inner child, that joy is there. It's there. That's what's actually fueling you to move into a hopeful situation. And there's, we may not know what's on the other side or what's coming next. And the uncertainty is something that can be tailored to through willing manifestation and dreaming. Okay, dreaming, we're taught in school, we're taught by our professors, by our colleagues that you're not allowed to dream. The only dream that you can have is the American dream, and that's filled with debt and blah, 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 and you're not good enough.
You've got to be asleep in order to
absolutely,
dream it.
Absolutely. But when in reality, those very thoughts that are actually saying this job is killing me, those very thoughts, the hopes, the magic that is actually on the other side of what would happen if you started to believe in yourself and in a magical existence, to know that something is there on the other side of this experience. And, just leaving the restaurant industry, after I was teaching meditation groups at my home, and, this girl said, "You talk an awful lot for it to be a meditation group." I said, "Fine, it's a workshop now." And so, but then from there, it went to speaking in front of large audiences at festivals, and, and I've had to overcome all of these different beliefs and different limitations of, being scared to death to speak in front of large groups of people.
Oh yeah, that's one of the biggest fears that people have. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, what I did, I said, well, if that's in my way, I need to figure out how to resolve that. Let me go study hypnotherapy. So I went and studied hypnotherapy, and I became a hypnotherapist. And so then I realized the power of being able to move past any limitations and the mastery that came from all this. It just became more magical. And then it's like I just kind of developed all these tools. But it wasn't to ever go and help a whole bunch of people. That was never the goal. It was so I could get out of my misery. Yeah. I'm like, you guys are cute. That's great. Awesome. But no, I got some stuff I need to work on because I'm not happy. And I want to be happy because I've had the glimpses of it. I know that it's available. I know it's possible. Tony Robbins talks about it. All these other people talk about it. I know that I'm naturally a joyful person. And, drugs and alcohol were the way that brought that out. And now, when
it covered up your misery so your spirit couldn't connect.
Totally.
I actually see it that way, that your spirit knows what you're here to do, and your body is the puppet, and the mind thing is in the way, and your mind is your ego, and that thing is getting in the way. That's the monkey that's running all the patterns and stuff, and it's blocking your spirit from connecting to your body. So when we quiet the mind, the spirit can connect through into the body, and then suddenly you're like the guitar player who doesn't know what solo he's going to play. He just lets his fingers dance around, and magic happens.
Right.
And where did that come from? Spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, or the divine, whatever you want to call it. It came from magic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and then even going into that is, there's a couple of things that kept popping up when you were talking about that is, the difference between self-awareness and self-consciousness. And, there's a, when you are looking at all the things internally that's not okay with you based on the perceptions of others, that's going to keep you trapped from that magic. That's going to keep you separate and in your mind. And we're in this state of returning to the heart. And that's why it's something so beautiful, because in the heart is this magical, magical world. And it is filled with love and potential and possibility and dreams and unification and hope. And, one of, the Buckminster Fuller's quotes of, we are supposed to be architects of the future, not its victims. So, in this moment, what can we create? Do we want to keep on recreating everything from the fear-based realities of the mind? Or would we want to move into a state of self-awareness, allow yourself to meditate, chill out, put down the Red Bull, take care of yourself, and allow yourself to move into that state of self-awareness rather than self-consciousness, so we can create from the heart and start creating from that place of integrity within the heart and into that place of magic, and allow yourself to receive it. There's so many beliefs about healing and self-healing. That's a whole nother topic. But, the the heart. And, Joe Dispenza talks about the quantum human. And, when we move into the heart and the heart space, the majority of my work and the majority of hypnotherapy sessions that I've worked on making for myself, is I realized that the heart was where it's at, because everything in life is teaching us how to love ourselves a little bit more. Everything. There's not one thing that goes against that. So if everything is teaching us how to love ourselves, then what is the validation and the proof in which we are in fact healed? Was that we're in our hearts. Okay, cool. But there's also this perception that most people have, is that we are broken. But the brokenness is actually just us regurgitating other people's flaws and pain. So that's why, going back to that original statement of what can we do that's most important to raise our frequency, is be mindful about who you're talking to and create energetic boundaries. And people I've been talking about the energetic boundaries thing for a long time, because it is so important. But a lot of people don't accept and or embrace the fact that people are energetically sensitive on a psychic level. But hands down, we are. Not only that, the casting of the spells through the voice, but also the intonations. Even people of a deep victimhood will just observe somebody looking at them wrong and go, oh my God, they hate me. So how do we stop these things? And so self-healing and self-awareness is so, so, so important.
I find that people don't make a change until they're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Absolutely.
And earlier you talked about compassion. I have a really interesting question for you. It has to do with a woman named Brene Brown, and she speaks about compassion in a different way. She says, in order to really be compassionate, well, I have two little stories. One is, in order to be compassionate, you have to set rules, regulations, and boundaries, and then you can be compassionate. And so that's part of the question. The other part of the question is, there was a monk that talked about two types of compassion: actual compassion and idiot compassion. So often when we think we're being compassionate, we're being nice, and being nice to ourselves might be enabling ourselves to remain in a dysfunctional place.
Absolutely.
Enable to repeat the same pattern. So being nice to her, I'm going to go out for drinks and just ignore my problems. That's being compassionate to myself. No, that's being nice to yourself and ignoring the problem, right?
Yeah.
So at some point when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you actually draw some boundaries and say, no. We're not doing that 7 nights a week. We're going to go in and get quiet. Well, luckily right now, this is a great time for people to get quiet. And so actual compassion is actually sometimes rude and harsh, to where you actually draw those boundaries and say, no more, cut off. We got to make a change now. And so with yourself, you've got to and so this is a great time for all of us to go inward and find that inner quiet space and say, what are the patterns that don't work for me anymore, and
Absolutely.
how can I address those? So Can you run with that for a little while now?
Totally.
Yeah.
For 5 days.
Okay.
So with what you're just saying is, I found, when people are thrown in the trenches and very energetically sensitive, they have the ability to actually move through a lot more stuff. I've, noticed that so many people who are more energetically sensitive or empathic, we kind of get the rough end of the deal a lot of times, but it's those things, that building of the character, that moving through these different wounds and being able to do that is actually what builds the capacity for more compassion within themselves and for their ability to assist other people. The idiot compassion, I love that term. I totally giggled. I see that as like a stem away from guilt, in terms of, there's a guilt complex that I'm running away from, and something in me is saying that I need to go outside of myself and avoid being here. I need to go into, self-denial or some sort of external aspect of that. But with that compassion of, I think what you're talking about in terms of enabling other people or enabling yourself.
Yourself.
Yeah. When you're enabling yourself, or just, It's, you know, is this the right action that I could be doing? Cool. It's fun to get silly. It's fun to let loose. I personally don't drink anymore. I don't do anything like that, you know, but, you know, I got to watch my Roseanne reruns. I got to, you know, but that's about as enabling as I get for myself. But in terms of the, you know, developing of compassion, one who's been there and has gone through that and has understood, a lot of times those people will want to say that they're being so compassionate for other people who are going through the same thing, and then try to completely enable them, unknowingly doing so, that they're kind of like, by helping them so much, they're actually not allowing that person to process what they need to process and grow from the lesson. So there's this fine line of healer and compassion. And it's like, you know, I think that we're moving into understanding that, you know, being a true healer, a person who is there for another person, is somebody that's able to hold space, to remain in the heart without going in and swooping up all the pain of the other person, because that only brings you down and it takes away from their growth simultaneously. And so we have to go, okay, you know what? I'm going to hold space and be in my heart, and I'm going to be a shoulder you can cry on, and, you know, and I'm going to let you move through your stuff, and know that your situation's yours, mine's mine. It doesn't mean that I'm mean. It doesn't mean that I'm less compassionate. It just means that I'm healing and assisting in a more effective way that most of society doesn't know about, you know? So now on the other aspects of, I'm trying to remember that other part of your question. The second part of your question.
Well, Brene Brown said about creating boundaries, and that to truly be compassionate with yourself or anybody else, you've got to set some rules, regulations, and boundaries, and then abide by them. Like, okay, I am not going to go out drinking Monday through Friday or Sunday through for Friday or Thursday or whatever. I'm not going to do that anymore. Instead, I'm going to quiet myself, heal myself, go inside, and not ignore my problems, but instead address those.
Right.
You know.
Cool, totally. And there's a bunch of different things that come to that. Is first off, what's your definition of a boundary? Many people have different definitions of what a boundary is. Okay, so define what your definition of a boundary is that works for you, that allows you to really move into a state that assists you. Your definition of what a boundary is may be different from another person. Okay, now also, with those boundaries, a lot of people talk about boundaries, but a lot of people who are energetically sensitive will try to declare their boundaries vocally and be like very loud and vocal about their boundaries if they need to. But there's a way to do that through hypnotherapy, by actually going, hey, imagine yourself becoming like completely walking through a crowd unaffected. Is like you're in a shield of white light or whatnot, okay? But what happens is that the perception of the subconscious mind actually creates that as being true. And then you can develop a belief as such, and then develop a new perception as though, I don't take on other people's pain. It is not mine. I can have boundaries wherever I want. Then I can focus on what needs to be healed within me and me only. And within that, I develop my own compassion for myself and other people. This goes very, very back into even the fall of Atlantis and a lot of that stuff, and how we're returning into the heart from the mind. But how do we do that with integrity if we don't have energetic boundaries? But it's that thing, how do we develop them? And that's how I've found to develop, is through using hypnosis and developing, what do I see energetic boundaries looking like for myself? And an energetic boundary for me is that I am not responsible for the pain that you're enduring. If I wanted to help heal the planet, I need to focus on me so I can be strong enough to still be able to smile and hug somebody, you know, if everybody else is having a rough time, you know, and realize that it's not me. So there's, again, a lot of belief sets going on with that topic in particular, because we've been taught that you're not a caring person if you are focusing on loving yourself. And we have to overcome that. You have to overcome that.
I find that we all take things personally in a weird way. And so it used to be names might hurt you, or names would hurt you, and that was the pattern. As a child you were kind of taught that. So if I call you fat or ugly or stupid or whatever this is, whatever, that's a trigger for you, you respond, and now if you're responding, I am not fat, well, that means that there's some level of truth to it for you to respond like that. But if you know it's ridiculous that you're not fat, and you don't consider yourself fat, and you're fine with who you are, and then your response to you are fat should be like I've got an Aunt Fairy, or I used to have an Aunt Fairy that she was indeed a fairy. Whenever you'd call her fat, she would say, well, thank you, this is expensive. It took a lot to create this. She was fine with herself. You couldn't say a thing to harm her. So I feel that's the way
awesome.
we all have to evolve too.
Yeah.
That if you're responding to something, I am not stupid, well, then there's something in you that thinks you're stupid or ugly or whatever the term is. So if you have some level of self-doubt, you're going to defend it, and that's when anger and fear comes in, because really that's what it is. So if someone's addressing anger and fear with you, well, then what they might really want is a hug. Instead, if they call you fat, usually it's because they think they're fat. They're picking on you, they're trying to, and so when they pick on you, really what they need is a hug. Oh, it's
absolutely.
It's terrible that you think you're stupid or ugly or fat,
Well, and think about it, the more we're able to love ourselves, the more compassion we're able to hold for that person in state of judgment. And so, I've spent a lot of my life going through how do I create the practicality and the process of my own forgiveness? What does walking as a forgiven person look like? Okay, I know that when I release and when I forgive myself, and knowing that the majority of the stuff that I hold on to or blame is stuff that I chose to on some level, it's that accountability factor, which we're still working on in society. But, what does it look like to be a forgiving person? What does it look like to be a compassionate person? What does it look like to be a happy, joyful person, a successful person? And the reason why people are not these things is because they're spending too much time getting stuck in the groove of the habitual pattern of not being that. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy.
And all that's low frequency.
Absolutely.
Argue, blame, complain,
Absolutely.
Fear, hate, anger, that's low. And what you're talking about, compassion and awareness, that's all the higher frequency.
Completely. And the compassion and awareness, and this is something that not a lot of people know, that's our natural state of being. So really all we need to do is learn how to alchemize, shift our words, developing new energy to actually come in, but also allowing our natural energy of joy to be able to shine through, kind of like a windshield of a car, and we're just spraying off the mud layer by layer. Okay, and so as the windshield becomes more clear, you're able to become more aware, you're able to have more compassion, you're able to see more. But with people that run away from healing their stuff and from taking the initiative to create new belief systems and whatnot, it's going to be more difficult. One of the, this is something I really want to point on.
Well, hold on a second. And you said you, in fact, were that guy for a while of your life.
Oh, yeah.
I was too.
Oh, totally.
I mean, I was, I lived a whole different life, the little rock star life for a little while, and I was unhappy. I had money and I had a little success and, little local fame or whatever, but it wasn't making me happy. It was taking care of my mind and my ego, and it was taking care of my body, but it wasn't taking care of my spirit.
Right.
And if I look at the photos of me, you could see that I was chemically induced. I was, and I'm 56 years old now, and I'm healthier now than I was then.
Right? Yeah. It's so interesting. And, and this actually goes into something really important. And I'll be very transparent about what I've been working on lately within myself. Social media, all these different things, being energetically sensitive. I realized that I had developed a belief that said, the more I give, the more people like me. Okay, so I want you to take that into consideration with anybody who's doing all the social media stuff, children, on their Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, Facebook, it doesn't matter. But where they're being taught that, oh, my natural state of being is a lack of self-worth. I'm finding my value in how many likes and people loving me. So that's such a big misalignment. So one of the things that I've been personally working on this week is, okay, I need to up my self-worth. And so how do I do that?
Well,
and
you could get a boob job.
I think I have a couple going already. I was trying to maintain being lower than the screen so my boobs don't show.
Yeah, all the Instagram photos, all the Instagram photos of your man, a little low-cut outfit, you know?
Totally. I would look good. Yeah. No, but it's so true. It's like, thank gosh I was born before technology was released. And so I kind of have one foot in each realm, but it's these different things, a repetitive or energy follows our thoughts become a reality. If you're being shown that it's important to get these people to respond to you in a certain way, you're realizing that your self-worth is based on the importance of others, not your own self. And when we go into self-worth,
can you rewind a second? Because all that that paragraph was really, really important. You just skimmed over all of manifestation in a matter of 14 seconds. Come on, take it easy. Go back.
Okay. If we want to actually create a reality that is super important to you, there's an authentic version of you, and that authentic version of you that wants to create the reality that you want to experience best would not be the one based off of the importance of others, but by your own true authentic self. Okay? So, and hopefully that's what you're going for, but there's so much more to it too.
But you said it starts with getting a clear vision on what you want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then thinking that clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are the next steps?
Okay, so first you vision what your dream is. Okay, visioning what your dream is, you feel it, you tap into the feeling. What's it going to be like as that person that you have become? As a person that now has worth, or that has a new value system of self-belief and self-worth and self-happiness, what does that, what's that going to include for me? Okay, so I need to spend the time visualizing, okay, a person, Danny, a person who's filled with self-worth and confidence and self-esteem, what are the emotions that I will be feeling? And then allow yourself to feel what that's like.
And feel it now, as if you're a success
now. Exactly. And then another thing that really helps is imagine it already has happened. Go a couple of steps ahead of the manifestation and go, I have been a person filled with self-worth for 2 weeks now. This has been amazing. What thoughts are you thinking now as that person filled with self-belief? Okay.
Literally, it'll change your posture. It'll change your breathing. It'll change you will sit different. You'll walk different. There will be confidence. There'll be clarity. The muddle-mindedness and the fear, all that negative fritz won't show up. Right? The monkey goes to sleep.
Well, because the expansion aspect of it is such a higher frequency, and it's your natural state of being. This is a quantum physics thing. This is a physics thing. So as we tap into that natural state of expansion and abundance, it completely negates any sort of fear-based reality and allows you to be in your heart automatically. Okay, so we don't really need to actually go deep into our hearts. We can actually just realize that we are already perfect. It's the fact that you are holding on to these limiting beliefs, that's what's holding you back. But we're already perfect in the eyes of God or Creator, whatever, nature, whatever you want to believe. We're already perfect. Everything's already perfect.
I've only been perfect to one person. That was my mom. Everybody else in the world knows the truth.
Well, and this is where the self-forgiveness stuff comes in, because it's like you can release all that self-blame, while knowing that, the inner critic is a real bitch, and not a lot of people go, wait, this is something I can change. I can change the way that I communicate with myself. I can be kinder, more gentle to myself. I could be mindful of the words that I say. And there's different ways that you can be more mindful. And one of the ways that I had to learn to be nicer to myself is by paying attention. That inner critic was actually serving me, because it would get more critical the more whiskey I drank. And
what kind of whiskey?
Oh gosh, it was usually Jack.
Yeah, there you go.
Back then it was Jack.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I had that was 20 or 25 years ago for me.
Right?
You know, thank God.
But it's that inner voice that actually became so, I couldn't deal with it anymore. And that's what pulled me out, that contrasted experience of there has to be something else. But then it became full bore, like, you know, Abraham Hicks manifestation, but also, you know, listening to Bashar's aspect of abundance and the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it is our natural state of being.
I agree with both of those.
Anything, yeah, no, it's, so how do we apply these? And so that's what, you know, when it comes to the applications, we see a lot of people talking about things, but there's not a whole lot of tools. Okay, here's this little soft little meditation. No, but here's this thing. So after you start feeling the feelings of what it's like to be that person that you want to be, or that you are becoming, then you're going to act as though it is true, and you're going to believe fully that it is true, and you're going to trust, and then you're going to release any outcome. You're going to let go of the monkey mind and release from any outcome and go, okay, cool. So that's kind of in my bank of, you know, my art supplies that the universe carries, you know. What's that?
And by releasing the outcome, that thing that you envision that would give you the feeling, the thing that you thought of that would give you the feeling, in the feeling, once you accept it all and feel the feeling, what might show up is something well beyond what you were thinking.
Absolutely.
What might show up is something that your soul wants you to really learn. Your spirit, your body and your mind get a new challenge to grow, because your soul brings you the next available lesson for you. And so what you get served up might be something exciting and a whole nother roller coaster ride to ride on, because, you know, life is a bunch of lessons, and, you know, we keep going around, oh yes, I've learned about compassion, and then 14 years later you get hit upside the head again with the next version of compassion, or whatever it is, whatever the
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And one of my things, you know, with what you're saying is I realize, I'm like, well, what if I'm an angel? What if I'm like this angel in physical form? Well, what if I started to manifest as though I'm an angel, and believing in my divinity within my heart of how sacred and beautiful and loving we all are? What if the only thing that was limiting me from believing and understanding that I'm not of that angelic frequency is in fact these limitations that I subscribe to based off of humankind and mankind or whatever, or the darkness that we've been in forever, and that I chose to continue to believe that? But what if I were to start manifesting as though I were an angel, or as I am my own God, or I am, you know, my own creator, right? So if you want to do some real powerful manifestation, start toying with the idea of knowing that you're perfect because you are the universe. Nassim Haramein has mathematically proven that the energy within your system is no different between that and the stars. So yes, we are the universe, but also it's a microcosm of the macrocosm. So what we're really here to do is expand in your truth, in your integrity, in your truth, not somebody else's. And this also goes into whose stuff do you listen to? Listen to and be discerning of who you're listening to, but know that you are your best resource when you go into your heart, when you quiet the mind and you allow yourself to move into that state of self-awareness rather than self-consciousness.
Wow. The angel and the devil thing is really funny to me too. I have my own odd little version of it, which is the angel on your shoulder that's going, hey, Danny, don't drink anymore. You know, and you're like, get off. And then the devil shows up and he's like, yeah, get another bottle of Jack. Come on, party, right? Ooh, come on, let's go. Come on, party. Well, they're both change agents. When you listen to this one, you go, shut up. Right? But the one that's coaxing you to ignore everything and whatever, they're both change agents. They'll both lead you to the same thing, which is to heal yourself.
Right.
Now, this one you ignore most of the time. This one you're like, yeah, let's go. And what happens is it runs you into a brick wall. At some point you wreck your car, you almost kill yourself or your friends, or or you have health issues or whatever, that you find yourself fat, sick, and nearly dead, whatever it is. And then you go, oh my God, I got to wake up. Well, there's an easy way or there's a hard way. And they're both gets you to the same point. So at some point when you start to unravel this guy and you go, I don't need you anymore. I don't need I can go ahead and put all my eggs in this basket and become that angel. Then this guy just fades to the back. He fades to the back. I mean, he occasionally shows up, but then you actually you take yourself lightly. You get rid of the heavies off your shoulders, and your angel wings start to fly, which means that suddenly you take yourself lightly. You don't carry around all those burdens with you that hold you down, and you start to fly. And then what you came here to do is to help others and serve others. That becomes easy and effortless. People come out of the woodwork and they can see you shine. Smiling is contagious. Laughter is contagious, right? Love is contagious. Joy is contagious, right? I want some of that. I need to be around that guy, right? So if you want love, you actually be love. If you want joy, you be joy. But this guy, it's like you repel everything. I'm better than you. Shut up. Right? And so that's what you get. I mean, if you want arguing, you get arguing. I mean, you give arguing. It's energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Only change.
Absolutely, only change. And that's when we get into alchemy. And even the sacred geometric, the flower of life behind me. One of this is such a good thing to tie into, actually. So I went into the self-worth thing, or like, how do I increase my self-worth? And so with my wisdom and my philosophy and what I've studied and what I found within my meditations and what I'm really drawn to is, I went to ancient Kabbalah, ancient Hebrew, and how the letters Yahweh or God, is numerically coded. All the ancient Hebrew alphabet has a numerical code to it. And so I said, well, knowing that consciously that all of this aspect of everything is completely correlated to the origins of creation. So I can actually use sacred geometry and allow that to imprint with my subconscious mind. Yes. I got the same thing actually on the wall across from me. So within...
And then the names of God in Hebrew.
The 72 names of God. So, and that's exactly what we're talking about. So if you knew that the letters for Yahweh, the numerical code equates 72, and then the 72 equates just the male aspect, but then we add the female aspect and it becomes 144, which then becomes the revolving notation of the tree of life in a moving function. And then that becomes a tetragrammaton. And then I was using that image in a hypnosis to clear and reharmonize anything of illusion, anything not of the truth of divine origin that had nothing to do with my divine worthiness, to be dissolved, cleared, transmuted, and lifted. And I allowed it to just completely keep unfolding outside. It was one of the most fascinating sessions I'd ever created for myself.
All right, so I got one to add to the 144.
I love how you got so excited on that.
I get so excited because I get some things to add to it. So you get to go add these to your repertoire, which is, all right, so 144,000 people are going to ascend to heaven. That's part of the Christian, thing, right?
Yeah,
check it out, 144, right? I mean, that's no coinkydink. So then back leading up to 2012, they were talking about the Mayan calendar all the time. I believe there's 144,000 days in the Mayan calendar, right? And so then I start doing the science, look into science behind this, and there's an aspect of light that's a harmonic of light, and it might be that frequency that you were talking about, that purpley bluish kind of light or whatever. It might be that frequency of light is the frequency of light that's a harmonic of light that's part of that ascension process. So I had a near-death experience when I was 16. I got to go to what most people would consider heaven. And every time I would black out, I would have a visible rainbow of things go through, but the last thing was that light. So when you say the light, and so it's really simple. I know what color that is, and it's hard to describe. And then, you know, when I got to this place most people would call heaven, I got to be part of the all, whatever the all is. You could call it God or energy or love or whatever. But in that place, it wasn't like a bearded white guy was there that looked like Santa Claus and he said, hey, come on in. It wasn't, you know, there weren't angels flying around. It was just white energy, white light everywhere. And I felt at home and I knew everything by everybody of all time.
Yes.
And I had a choice. It wasn't like it was spoken to me, but I had a choice to come back. And the real question was, have you fulfilled your life's purpose in this body? No, put me back. So then I got to review my life and go back.
Right.
And so what I know is we're all eternal energy. And we're all connected to that light you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that light, that 144,000 might be part of what the Mayan calendar was talking about, because feelings are part of that whole thing too. It might be part of that Christian thing, which is all, you know, all these religions get all convoluted and mixed up, and then you get partial truths, you know, and then, but if you start to study them all, then you go, oh, well, that's, there's pieces that go together missing. And that's why you studied so many, right?
Absolutely.
And so on.
You know, I've always studied philosophy from like I was reading about starseed, you know, alien contact, you know, when I was like 13. And to go into the 144 thing, I have a completely different take on that.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think you might actually like this and actually find it pretty fascinating. Is that I have a feeling that the 144 is when man himself realizes the actualization that he is in fact God himself.
Yes.
And no longer gives the power away to others or anybody else. But that is the 144 of that own individuation, of the own complete self-empowerment, of that truth, of the love. Oh, there's an animal.
Yeah, it's cutie kitty.
Hey, cutie kitty.
Cutie kitty.
I was like, what is that?
It's cutie
but
kitty.
Yeah, so we've been taught so long, and even from the Atlantean times, to give our power away. And to give our power away. And so this life we can really bring it back, but we have to want to. And that's the beauty of the free will that we have. And you know, but the philosophies, you know, all of them match up, and a lot of the philosophies are very symbolic in nature. And we got to know that man is only able to perceive a reality based on his own reflection. And so everything in our lives is a mirror. So if somebody is in a fear state, you're going to acknowledge life in an angry, separated aspect of being. But if you're in a state of love,
anger, fear is contagious. The smiling is contagious.
Totally. Yeah. And you're not going to want to know that anything other than separation exists, because you've created your whole safe control mechanisms to completely abide by that rule. But now what a lot of people don't understand is that there's something that I call a vibrational addiction, where your DNA, everything is activated to a certain state of your frequency and your harmonics. So and this is what I do, is I actually teach people, I activate them with the energetic attunements, be it Reiki, be it Lightarian Reiki or Metatronia Therapy. I'm able to take people into a new activation and basically pull them out of that vibrational addiction, so to speak, but then also simultaneously go in with hypnosis and lift their energy up even further to create what it's like to feel safe to change. Because many people don't want to, they don't feel safe to change. So we have to let go of those ropes, you know.
And then the feeling of that has to become their habit and their go-to.
Absolutely.
So meaning that they have to actually repeat that process of, I love feeling this feeling so much that my new norm is this.
Right.
That's my normal. When I wake up, I'm here.
Yep.
You know, or here, wherever the
Absolutely.
here is. Instead of I'm running the same patterns that got me there.
Well,
Those
and
argue, blame, complain.
completely. Well, and with the attunements or the activation process, I've found that by doing that is actually like insurance. It doesn't allow people to go back. It's like it only forces you with the combination of hypnotherapy and that activation, you
And a
have
little
no
Jack
choice.
Daniels.
Hopefully by then we're like going up a little higher, get some Oban, we're moving into Scotch or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yes.
But it's really fascinating because everything is energy and everything is physics. How do we choose, how can we shift these energies using frequency by words, sound, sight, colors? You mentioned color with the rainbow, and actually it's quite fascinating because I work with a lot of rainbow frequencies all the time, especially with Archangel Metatron and all that stuff with the origins of creation and the sacred sacred geometric templates and whatnot, and realigning people to their absolute potential. And their potential is not a state of lack. That's what we're moving out of. It's just that people get used to it because it's becoming socially acceptable. And that's when we have to pull away. Bruce Lipton talks about this too. We have to pull away and be individual. And when we do that, we can perceive loneliness, and that keeps people in with the sheep or following the crowd, is because it's lonely venturing out on your own. And this is, I am a super happy, joyful person. And when I go up to somebody and go, hey, man, 90% of the time they run away, I'll never see them again. But what I was doing was perceiving that as rejection. And so then I started to go through this little self-denial, self-doubt thing. And I kind of almost spun out last year. It was really difficult. And so it's been fascinating getting back and regaining the courage of after my Egypt trip and just like collecting all these different new experiences. And now I'm in Sedona, where it's like I feel like the only way to be is belonging, and it's like my whole life is actualizing with my dreams and what I've created. And it's I have to kind of pinch myself sometimes and go, whoa, this is a trip. But it never would have happened if I hadn't known that there was a miracle that was still available.
You started the whole thing off talking about one of the techniques was looking into all you're hanging out with. If you basically, if you hang out with pigs long enough, you start smelling like them. If your choice of negativity, of argue, blame, and complain, and everybody around you is full of anger and frustration and argue, blame, and complain, it's hard to raise your frequency up out of that. You're just in the pigsty with all the pigs, and you're going to stink with them, right? So you're moving to a new location, getting new friends, and whatever probably offered you an opportunity to see yourself in a different way. And then, of course, you probably hit up a few of the wrong friends at first until you found your tribe.
Absolutely.
And quite often, the tribe that we are seeking takes a little seeking. It does. Especially when you're on cutting edge thinking. I mean, if you're unhappy, probably you should look around and find out if you're just around a bunch of pigs, or whatever,
Absolutely.
Because if you surround yourself with all that negative energy, that low energy, and that's the habit, you think that's normal. Yeah. So the trick is to raise out of that normal into a new normal, which is love, kindness, compassion. And, which is, if someone says, hey, you're fat, maybe they think they're fat. And maybe what they need is a hug. Instead of, I am not fat, you're fat, know? But instead, hey, are you doing all right? Because I don't normally hear that from you.
Totally.
Totally. You want to start exercising together? They go, oh, yeah. And then suddenly they're there.
Yeah.
We're in a whole new place right now. Instead of, we can't go outside so much, so we have to go inside. And I really want us all to go inside and listen to what all your advice so far has been fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work to get here.
A lot of this one. I was the same way. I mean, I had my own versions too. I a lot of mine was also observing some other people too that I helped out. I was the giver. So I was attracting, I was a lot of dysfunction and
Right.
around me. And I have a huge filter for it. I mean, I would have, yeah, a lot of stuff. But, you know, I have a huge filter
Totally.
for it. And, you know, for the most part, I escaped, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and that's again like that giver thing. It's like, are you giving because you're healing, or are we giving because we felt guilty on some level, or, you know,
I
and
was
that
trained to do it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so a lot of healers and practitioners don't realize that, you know, in fact, their business is created off of an old guilt program that, oh, I have to be doing this because, you know, I'm able to. And, you know, but what if you actually kept, you know, 70% of your energy for yourself, developed a better self-care routine, and actually allowed you to fill up more? And this is going into this other expansion aspect of talk, and it's a great segue actually, about when we allow ourselves to reap the rewards of our own growth, we allow our own expansion to occur. We can limit how much we give, and we can allow ourselves to grow and move into that next level of consciousness. Okay, and as we move to that next level, we allow ourselves to, you know, have more for us and allow ourselves to experience what abundance consciousness is, to understand what being in the heart is about, because you're no longer giving out of guilt anymore. Doesn't mean that you're taking everything for yourself, but you're being conscious to what you're doing, how you're giving, who you're giving to. You know, are you giving to
Boundaries.
the exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, all back to boundaries. You know, but when you do that, we can become stronger and we become more vibrant. And that's that radiance that people know. And that radiance is translated to joy. And it's through, you know, the most potent form of healing is through inspiration. It's not through, here, let me try to take on all your wounds and be the martyr. That's not healing, actually.
I've been guilty of that.
I think we all
It's
have.
hard. It's
This doesn't
stupid.
work for me. It does.
That's
It
idiot
hurts.
compassion.
Totally,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, with, you know, the metatronic energies of Metatron and the ascension process or the awakening process is that potential of inspiration, and how one person coming out of the depths of the funk and the addictions and the pain and the darkness, and allowing that to be transformed and transmuted from the mind, being it brought back into the heart, so you can be of example to show other people that it's possible too. And that's what is so beautiful, and that we all have the potential of doing this. And it doesn't matter if it's just, you know, from separating yourself and choosing one better, you know, habit a day. If you want to move from dairy milk to almond milk, or, you know, just those little things, little by little. But it's as you start doing little by little, you start realizing that your body starts feeling better and better. As your body feels better and better, your body becomes safer and safer.
And your
As you
mind starts clearing.
absolutely, and
Patterns.
as you become safer, what's happening is that your body starts bringing more of that light into your being, and you are actually able to move into a state of embodiment. So in that embodiment of that true light of you just being, and we're in a society that says do, but they don't talk about how when you fill with your own light, that law of attraction is going to allow you to move into a vortex that you've never even known to exist. And it's just, and talk about potential of what will happen then. It's absolutely, I know that I'm on a really big kind of precipice, verge of this stuff right now. So it's very exciting.
I find life is a little bit like a cha-cha. You know, it's like two
Totally.
steps forward, one step back, two steps
Mhm.
forward, one step back, cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's one step forward, two steps
Mhm.
back. But in order to learn the lesson, because I
Mhm.
mean, I was guilty of repeating the same problem over and over again,
Right.
and until I finally got the lesson. And
Yeah.
they say insanity is repeating that problem until, you know, and so I felt like I was insane.
Yeah.
And I was fighting myself. And finally, when I went, oh, you're not supposed to do it that way. Duh. You
Mhm.
know, and all I had to do was make the decision. It's kind of like alcoholism. Once you
Yeah.
say, I'm an alcoholic and I'm no longer going to do this. It's a choice from then on. Once you
Absolutely.
see the problem, it's a choice. Do you want to repeat the pattern? Do you want to be miserable? Do you want to keep this? Because it's either create or destroy. And so if you're not creating something, you're destroying yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and I used to say it's, you know, like putting my foot into a pot of boiling water over and over and over again with alcohol. It's like, oh, it's still boiling, damn it. And it's like every time I expected it to be not boiling. I did that for 15 years, you know, and then I was like, okay. And then the universe had to kind of convene and go, bah. But then also, you know, with clearing those repetitive behaviors, I found that self-forgiveness is one of the most potent means of raising your frequency, because it allows those repetitive behaviors to basically be transmuted and lifted, so you don't need to do them anymore. Because if it's almost like the inner being is struggling by repeating them over and over because not getting all the juice from them, but the action that allows the juice to be transmuted and shifted is the integration of the lesson. And what is the outcome of that integration is forgiveness.
Wow.
Right?
Every morning when I wake up, I actually have a goofy little thing I do now. And I had the worst year of my life last year. Horrible year. I don't need to go into details.
I hear right there with you.
And it had nothing to do with drugs and alcohol or anything like that. I was totally sober the whole time. And it would have been better if I was drunk the whole time. So anyway, what happened was I felt myself in this compressed energy, and I've never been depressed in my life, but I was pretty close to it. I was just held down, and I felt like I was in jail. And I was holding my breath. I wasn't breathing. I was running patterns of fear and doubt. And I just made a decision to look in the mirror and smile. And it started off one of those, you know, fake smiles like this. And eventually it went to the real smile, you know, and my eyes smiled and whatever, because I was laughing at how ridiculous it was that I'm smiling, you know. And then, so I wake up every morning with a smile on my face, and I force a smile on my face. And what happens is, here, smile with me. And then what happens is you can't think of a negative thought.
No.
And so what happened is I held the smile so long that my pattern of being negative thought of all the crap going on in my life, that went away. And so I started thinking, oh, all the things I had to be grateful for, because your brain can only think of one thing, yum or yuck. And so I wasn't in fear because I was thankful. I was grateful for all the good things. I've got running water and toilet paper. Hey.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. And so just that little thing of smiling caused me then to stop holding my breath.
Yeah.
And then, so I smiled and I breathed. And just the breath alone then coming back and forth started to help me relax enough that my monkey mind went down. All the chatter, all the noise and fear went down. Smile, breathe, relax. And I just started letting go of all the, because most of that shit doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is that I'm present in the moment and just doing my best. And so for me, smile, breathe, relax, and let go was my little secret that pulled me out of the darkness and gave me who I used to be back. So I'm back again. Welcome back.
Awesome.
Yay,
good job.
Yeah. And all this was a goofy smile.
I wish you had called me, because I was going through the same crap.
Yeah. Did you smile?
Oh man, I had a rough time. I want to be very transparent about this, is that, you know, I went after Egypt, you know, if people tell you go to Egypt and you expect life to be the same when you're back, don't.
Yeah.
But I had to go and enter into this space of absolute darkness and fear. And it was almost like I got my angel wings singed, but it was such a deep, dark place of separation. But it was within the darkness that I realized that if I saw anything, that meant that I was abundant, and that I was nurtured, and that I was taken care of. And one thing that you said that was so important for people to hear, and just in general, with knowing that there's always a lesson within everything that we experience. in everything. So as
Every
long as you
crisis
focus
is an
on
opportunity to learn and
every,
grow, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, when people come to me and they say, so Danny isn't smiling every morning, or isn't like saying something that isn't true, isn't that faking it till you make it? And I say, absolutely. You know, and then I say, how's reality working for you? You know, if you're totally in love with your reality, great. But we are the master of our universes and of our lives, and we have the means to create a new reality. And yes, it takes being the smile in your, you know, in the mirror. And otherwise it's going to be a, you know, you're going to keep on going through that insanity route, and those thoughts that go along with that are not okay.
For me, that was the simple key to my own self-love again.
Yeah, yeah.
I started smiling, and then I'd go brush my teeth and I'd be like, oh, I'm okay. You know, and then I started lighting up. My
Uh-huh.
frequency started going
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And believe me, it was pretty weird. I've never had it there. Even yeah, it was not my normal frequency. You know, if you hang out with pigs long enough, you start smelling like them.
Right.
So I was stinking pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fascinating life. And you know, if you focus on the lesson, you learn how to forgive yourself, and but just find tools of, you know, different tricks. And so I'm so glad that you're doing this for people, and you jump right into what's the solutions, what are the, you know, what are the tips and tricks, because
That's what we want.
everybody's got all sorts of advice, and
Mhm.
everybody's advice that works for you, or that you come up with yourself, is what's right at that time. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that somebody's good or somebody's bad. What I'm talking about may not register for some people right now. It may register for you a year or two down the line, but for other people it may totally click, you know. And so that's not up to me, it's not up to Brian, or, you know. So it's just, you know, it's all resonance and frequency. And, you know, with us talking about sacred geometry, yeah, that's probably going to go with, you know, out the window. But when we're talking about forgiveness and holding on to grudges, or repeating new positive behaviors, that's
Mhm.
pretty much going to register with
Oh yeah.
everybody. You know, you can't, that's just how it is. And what's beautiful is that in these times that the energies are so potent on the planet and the earth, and through this spiritual awakening that we're going through, that everybody is waking up, and waking up very quickly by asking questions. And that seeker mind is being activated big time. And now the true revelation, or whatever true peace of mind, is when we get to that state of, I no longer have to seek anymore, I can just be. And
Mhm.
it's astonishing, and it's beautiful, and it's lovely. And yeah, and
So if you
it's
want to heal the world, you got to heal yourself first.
that's how it all started with me, Brian.
Yeah.
It's how it
Right.
all started. I was drunk as heck, crying because I wanted to save the world. And my
I want to
friend,
save the world.
I was throwing up in the toilet,
Oh,
and he's
fantastic. I
and
wish you had that
yeah,
on
oh
video.
man,
Yeah. Wouldn't
he
that be
said
great?
he said, you can't do it like this, bitch. And I'm like, oh yeah, you
Oh yeah.
know. So
Yeah, give me
like,
my
yeah.
give me my magic wand.
Well, but when you think about it, you know, the scope of, you know, so many people care so much about the earth, and rightfully so, but look at what's within your parameter of what you can actually do. If you go and try to encompass the entire earth with your thoughts, your worries, and concern, you're going to be an anxious mess, and it's going to cause you to go into depression. I had to quit my environmental studies class in junior college because it was too depressing. And I just had to go into, maybe my calling is something else. And so I tried massage therapy, and then that weirded me out, and I got drained all the time. So then, you know, it was one thing but I didn't give up. And then I just kept going, okay, what is it? And it kept coming back to me, 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 me. And yeah, and now here we are.
So,
So
so tell us about what you offer, the courses and some of the information you have to share with people, and where they can find you, your website and so
absolutely.
on. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I can be reached at theepichuman.com. The Epic Human is all about educating people in realizing the epic humans that we are designed to be. It's not me going, hey, I'm awesome, you know, but this is about that the epic human, or even Joe Dispenza talks, the quantum human. It's within all of us, you know, if we so desire that. So The epichuman.com, I offer mentorship programs, 6 and 3 month long one-on-one personalized mentorship programs. We're working into creating an online library so people can have access to all the different sessions and kind of create your own adventure. It's not me sitting here going, hey, do this next. You know, I'll have the course curriculums and all that available so people can journey on their own level, but where you're not being enabled through that. But I also have a program, it's an educational online course called the Anxiety Assistant, where this is what I give to nurse practitioners, doctors, people in the medical field, people who are caretakers, people who are overexhausting their resources and need to learn. They need to learn how to recharge, and what's a quick way to do that? There's hypnotherapy sessions, meditations, written instructions, everything you need on how to create a self-care routine and why that's important. So that's available. That's on my website as well. I'm also on Instagram, the Danny Picard, YouTube, and youtube.com, Danny Picard Inspires. So yeah, so if people are interested, they can call and get in touch with my assistant, and we can go from there and kind of get an idea of what you're needed. So
cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. I've had a fantastic time talking to you.
Me too. This was fun.
Yeah. Well, I wish you were in my neighborhood. It's really cool.
I know.
No, you're in Sedona. Is that correct?
I am in Sedona, Arizona. Yes. Yes.
Wow. So they have to come to Magic Land in order to see you face to face.
No, actually,
no, but they can do it online. But it'd be fantastic if they could come to see you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do all of my work with my clients globally on Zoom. So, and that's one of the beautiful things about technology these days. I have a client in Saudi Arabia and the UK, and the only pain in the butt is me figuring out the time difference. But other than that,
that's
it's
all right.
You know, yeah, time makes no difference, and all the healing modalities, trainings, and all that. You know, I teach people how to heal themselves. I teach people the tools and how to heal yourself, so you can become empowered and do it yourself. Teach a man to fish, and you can eat for a lifetime. You know. So, and it's not the Western model of go patch and repair, because that's not sustainable. It's not sustainable any longer. And we're moving into the long haul of, I need to know that I'm safe, I'm protected, no matter what happens. My worthiness is depicted on this right here in my heart and my ability, my tools to teach and heal myself. Not what anybody else says to me, not what anybody, the outside circumstances don't matter. So.
Well, people, listen, go see his website. Please go see his website. He's got some wisdom for you. And I hope you enjoyed this with us. I really had a great time talking to you. And
Thank you so much.
I hope you have a really blessed week, and that we move through this and all raise our frequency at a higher level.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.